Piss and vinegar. Now, when you're a young player, you're full of energy. Uh, you've got incredible chops because of all the, I don't know, man, if you're a guy, is it testosterone? If you're a female, is it testosterone? I don't know, but maybe it's just energy. Maybe it's just youthful energy. And I had the same thing. When I was a kid, man, I was tremolo picking like incessantly and trying to play as fast as humanly possible. And, I thought that if I just played with incredible speed, that people would just bow down and, I'd be handed the keys to a Lamborghini. And I see this today. I see this today when I watch, videos of kids, online. And man, there are some guys with just incredible chops. Amazing players. And look, man, social media can be, it can be a good thing. It can also be a detriment. To us old guys, seeing young kids flying around and stuff like that, on the one hand, we can appreciate the talent and the youthful energy. But on the other hand, it's like we've learned so many lessons since those days. And that's why we don't play like that still. If I was still playing the way I played when I was 18, 19 years old now, that would be regression. That would not be, it wouldn't be positive. It wouldn't be healthy. I wouldn't be maturing in my playing. And, frankly, I don't think it would be that pleasant to listen to. I personally probably couldn't listen to some of my old 4-track demos where I was just trying to play as fast as I could over a song without taste and restraint. If you're just filling every space, it gets old really quick. Now, in today's world where there's 30-second clips and you're trying to impress somebody as quickly as possible, I guess taste and restraint have kind of gone by the wayside. But, there is something to be said. I take in mind, there's a young player that I know of, and I don't know, people can try to guess in the comments who I'm talking about, but, he plays incredibly fast. He plays, all this stuff and, incredible stuff that he's playing. But at some point, you got to just go, okay, you can do that. So what? So what? Are you able to sell it? Are you able to do something with it other than playing with a local, 80s tribute band or, something along those lines? Are you stuck where you're at? Is nothing changing? Look, the reality is, for some, and there are some in Nashville that came to town, and I'm not going to have to name names. People will probably know who I'm talking about, but come in and, have some kind of old guy kind of chops to their playing, and they're young and they get blasted to the front of the line, and now they're, on big stages and doing big things. And then there's people that are, just shredding amazing, incredible stuff, and nothing is happening. They're stuck where they are. They're stuck sitting in front of that phone, doing this, and occasionally playing local, tribute act type stuff. Why is that? Why is that? Nobody is going to reach out and hand you the keys to the Lamborghini and go, you're incredible. You're better than Eddie Van Halen. You're better than Randy Rhoads. Look at you, on all this. And look, part of what I see, when I see somebody doing this, and they may be playing they may be playing a classic riff, even if they're just playing riffs and playing a classic song to get clicks. Look, if you play, classic songs on your channel, there's going to be people that want to hear that and they'll click on it. But then I'll hear them play one of these riffs and they got to fill every single space with a dive bomb or a lick or something to look at me, impress me. And, I guess that works to a certain point, but it also shows a lack of maturity. Playing the part perfectly and in the pocket, that accounts for a lot, and that is harder than you think it is. You might hear the original part and go, oh, that's easy, I can play that, and then play, sort of play that with no click track, and then add all this, essentially BS, adding a whole bunch of baloney to the equation. And hey, that could be fun if you're just doing it to have fun. But I see this happening and I think, man, what a shame. Young, full of talent, but it's not going to get just handed to you because you're, essentially masturbating on the instrument. That's essentially what you're doing. And it's incredible, the skill that you're displaying, but, working on your presentation, opening up to the camera, communicating, showing and teaching things rather than always having to look at me. Those would be some different things you could try just in your internet-only approach. But then there comes the taking a chance part. And look, if I don't know how old this person is, I assume they're still young. But, here's the thing. If you were to move to Nashville, or you were going to move, somewhere where you were going to go play regularly with not just an 80s tribute act, but, you would be in situations where you would have to play different types of music. You can't play like that when the band leader calls Sweet Home Alabama. I'm not saying this guy couldn't learn the solo for Sweet Alabama. I'm Sweet Home Alabama. I'm sure he could. But if you try to play a bunch of stuff, if you try to essentially go on stage and masturbate for 4 sets, it's going to get old pretty quick. And learning some restraint, learning when to take it to the next level and when to just lay back and play solid in the pocket rhythm guitar. That's going to serve you well. You're going to get more calls doing that than look at me for 4 hours. Man, the look at me thing works amazingly well if you were doing an original project with your own riffs, and you put together a band, and you put together a package, and you wrote songs. That could potentially work because you'd be doing your own thing. And nobody can tell you what to do when you're doing your own thing. But, man, if you played like that for 4 hours on a gig, man, it gets old. And I know this from experience because I was playing the same way when I was 18, 19 years old. And I wondered why people weren't just, giving me the keys to the Ferrari and, here, you're incredible, and whisking me away to my mansion. It doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't work like that. And you've got to make yourself hireable. And here's the thing. Take your average shredder that's ripping all this stuff, and throw up a medium difficulty jazz song and say, now play over this. I suspect in probably 90% of the cases that they can't swing. They can't play a swing feel because everything they play is that straight, feel. So they can't be they can't do it. And the same could be said with having them play over an up-tempo train beat, a country solo. They can't do it. And what else? Playing a good blues solo with restraint and leaving space between the notes. They can't do it. They can only play in the diarrhea style. It's note diarrhea. And if you want to make yourself hireable and you want to work as a guitar player night after night in multiple different situations, playing look at me, look at me, look at me all night, it's going to get you fired more often than not. If you're playing for a song or playing for a songwriter or playing in a band, unless it's your band, it's all about compromise and maturing as a player. And I had to learn it. Every player I know bass players that were the same way when they were young. And they soon learned once they got on gigs, even if the gig was a funk gig, they had to be more reserved with the parts that they were playing. And yes, there'd be times where you'd get a bass solo, or yes, there'd be times where you could squeeze in some cool licks. But overall, as they matured, just like me and just like these other older guys like me that had long careers as musicians, they had to change the way they played. They couldn't just rely on youthful exuberance and immaturity and diarrhea. It's a tough thing to look in the mirror and go, yeah, man, I've kind of mastered that. I'm kind of really good at doing that over the top stuff. But how many singers want that? If David Lee Roth was, let's say 40 now and not, what is he, almost 70 years old now? If he was 40 and still looking for a hotshot guitar player, he's going to want somebody who's a gunslinger and can play that stuff. But he's not going to want somebody that's going to pee all over his vocal lines, that's going to fill every space. Yeah, he's going to want you to rip when it's time to rip. But if you're overplaying, you're going to lose the gig, bro. Dude, listen to me now. Listen to me. If you're a young guy and you're doing this, you're headed towards tendonitis. You're headed towards unhireable-itis. And you're headed to a place where you're not going to get what you deserve. You have great talent. You are a great player. Let's establish that. But I know guys that were like that way back in the day, and they didn't adjust their player and they didn't learn other styles. And now they're just stuck in that same house that they were in, as a kid maybe. And they didn't get to do as much stuff as they really deserved to do. But you have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to take a chance. If you want to be that incredible rock shredder, then go somewhere where that's where that's needed. Go somewhere where that's needed. Don't just sit in your hometown and sit in front of the phone and diarrhea. And I guarantee you, if you do go where that's needed, I don't know if you could go to Los Angeles and make that happen anymore. But if you do go where it's needed, you are going to have to adjust your playing unless you put together your own band and do your own thing. But even then, to make your parts sound clean, to make it sound great when it's recorded on an album, you're gonna have to learn to edit yourself. You're gonna have to learn to leave some space. Because if you don't leave space, it's tiresome on the listener's ear. I mean, you can only take so much. And you know what? Trying to make other players feel inferior by your constant diarrhea and constant all over the place, that's not a real good way to make friends either. It's a good way to get blocked out of getting calls. That's an interesting thought, right? You're gonna want to befriend people. You're gonna want to come off to people like you're a good guy. You're fun to have around. You're not all about me, 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 me. You're gonna let the singer have his moment to shine. Look, man, there's nothing wrong with playing an entire song, playing the chords to the song, and not playing a fill at all. Think about that. Does the singer want to turn around and look at you every time you play some insane fill while he's trying to sing and emote to the audience? Absolutely. I can tell you as somebody who has also fronted a band as a singer. I didn't want that. I didn't want somebody constantly filling every hole. I wanted to focus on the crowd, focus on delivering the song, and not have to look back at what was going on behind me. I wanted to be supported, like I was on a nice bed of tone, of sound. I wanted to be supported on it and not have to worry about what was going on. And is the guitar player overplaying? Is the bass player overplaying? Is the drummer overplaying? Are they paying attention to me and supporting what I do? Do you get what I'm saying here, kids? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? This is maybe the most important lesson you're ever going to hear on this channel.